much. This is a statement from the Office of the President-elect. Outgoing President Jammeh has issued his New Year message. President-elect Barrow has requested for this statement to be issued in response to the salient points raised by the outgoing president. The general public should be informed that the national leaders should speak for the people. The speech of a national leader should inspire certainty and hope, rather than promote uncertainty and despair. A New Year message from a head of state is designed to take stock of the past and present and inspire hope in people for a better future. At this juncture, the public is fully aware that there is an incoming and an outgoing president in the Gambia. The incoming president has informed the Gambian people that he is declared the winner of the 1st December 2016 polls and is mandated by Section 63, subsection 2 of the Constitution to assume office when the term of outgoing President Jammeh expires this month. This is projected to be on the 19th January 2017. He has therefore called on the outgoing president to open up the channel of communication so that for the first time in Gambian history, executive power would be transferred from an outgoing president to an incoming president through peaceful means. President-elect Barrow has emphasized in no uncertain terms that the only time the ECOWAS, AU, and the UN would have a foothold in managing Gambian affairs is if two presidents fail to do with impeccable thoroughness what the Constitution of the Republic demands of both. Section 41 of the Constitution of the Gambia has given the Independent Electoral Commission the mandate to conduct elections, and Section 81 mandates it to announce the results. This has been done, and President-elect Barrow is the winner. Section 63, subsection 2 makes it mandatory for President Jammeh to vacate office when his term expires, and for President-elect Barrow to assume office on the same day, which is scheduled for 19th January 2017. President-elect Barrow, ECOWAS, AU, and the UN have calculated their steps. Outgoing President Jammeh should also calculate his steps so that no mistakes would be made that would undermine the peace and security of the country. It should be crystal clear that filing an election petition is a private matter of a loser in an election. It does not prevent mandatory constitutional processes from taking place. This is trite law. All students of electoral jurisprudence in Africa would have followed the election petitions in Nigeria, Ghana, etc., and should be able to advise the outgoing president that an election petition in court does not prevent any victor from being sworn in to assume political office. This is the simple and elementary truth that outgoing President Jammeh should take note of. Needless to say, when his term expires, he would have no constitutional mandate to be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Gambia or be duty-bound to defend the sovereignty of the country. He would be a private citizen like everybody else. Any president whose term of office expires, who takes up arms, would undoubtedly be regarded as a rebel leader. This is the candid reading that any mature leader should derive from the declared position of ECOWAS and the rest of the international community. On the election petition, it has been made very clear to the Gambian population that any presidential candidate and his party could file elections petitions under Section 49 of the Constitution when one has any grievance. Even though President-elect Barrow and the coalition were privy to the fact that there was counting at polling stations, which enabled the parties to know the results before they were declared by the IEC, campaign is not being done to discredit the APRC petition. Clarification is only made to make the people to have faith that the results are incapable of distortions, which compelled the IEC to remedy the mistakes made in its computation. In his address to the nation, the outgoing president, however, showed the shade of uncertainty by claiming that the chairman of the IEC invited all political parties to the headquarters of the IEC to inform them of the errors and its rectification of the figures without specifying the number of votes transposed and added to Adama Barrow's nationwide. It is important to give some clarification by publishing verbatim what the IEC wrote. It reads in its press release, entitled Error in the Total of Final Election Results. According to the IEC press release, the tabulation of the 2016 presidential election results from the 53 constituencies was done correctly, their own words. Furthermore, it said, regional election results were also tabulated correctly from Banjul to Basse administrative areas, their own words. However, it added, when the total votes per region were being tallied, certain figures were inadvertently transposed. Instead of adding the total number of votes polled by Mr. Adama Barrow in the Basse administrative areas, the IEC added the total number of ballots cast for Basse administrative area to Adama Barrow's total number of votes, thus swelling the number of votes Mr. Barrow polled nationally. This error was repeated across for the other contesting candidates, their own words. Having noticed this, the error is now corrected, and this is the actual result. Barrow, Adama Barrow, 227,708 votes. Jammeh Yahya, AJJ, Sheikh Professor Alaji, Doctor, 208,487 votes. 208,487 votes. And Kande Mama, 89,768 votes. Let me repeat, so that it will be incapable of distortion. According to the IEC press release, Adama Barrow, 227,708 votes. Yahya Jammeh, 208,487 votes. Kande Mama, 89,768 votes. This is what the IEC said. To conclude, the IEC said this result, which has not changed the status quo, was unanimously endorsed by the representatives of the contesting candidates at Election House this morning, 5th December 2016. That is what the IEC wrote. The IEC has explained what happened. It is only the APRC candidate who has decided to file an election petition against the IEC. President-elect Adama Barrow is not made a party to the petition. The contradictory remarks of the outgoing president must be addressed. The New Year message has altered the original remarks of the outgoing president, which made many people to call on him to step down now, which is not in line with his constitutional mandate. President-elect Barrow has never called on him to step down. He has called on him to transfer power to him in peace when his term ends and the term of President-elect Barrow begins. It is outgoing President Jammeh who announced the annulment of the elections and the plan to hold new elections under a different electoral administration which had no constitutional basis. Now he is saying in his New Year message that, quote, giving these unjustifiable and unprecedented anomalies in the elections, what we simply are asking for is to return to the polls and allow the Gambians to elect who they want to be their president in free and fair elections to be organized by a fresh, patriotic and God-fearing, honest electoral commission like it was under the leadership of Mr. Carriel. Unquote. The outgoing president is now expressing a wish instead of issuing a decree. Every human being is entitled to a wish. In addition, the outgoing president has indicated that instead of issuing a decree to nullify the elections and compel the people to go back to the polls, he has resorted to the court for redress in the following words. Quote, fellow Gambians, in filing a petition to the Supreme Court, I am merely acting in accordance to oath I took to defend the Constitution of the Gambia as President and to exercise my right to appeal as candidate during the president election of 2016. Unquote. This matter is now clear and settled. Outgoing President Jammeh has a right to pursue court action for redress. Incoming President-elect Barrow has a right to prepare for his inauguration without paying any regard to the petition filed by the APRC candidate. On the dangers of post-electoral violence, outgoing President Jammeh told the nation in his New Year message, quote, there are appeals in some quarters for me to step down. This tantamounts to disregard to the constitutional provisions, Constitution's provision that should govern the resolution of the court. Most, if not all, reasons advance for me to change initial position are based on fears of a military confrontation that leads to violence and concern for them to destroy this country of ours, unquote. He claimed that ECOWAS is threatening to use force to get him to step down, which would lead to resistance in defense of national sovereignty, but assured that his administration would never provoke violent confrontation, but will always promote peace. He said ECOWAS would remain unsuitable to mediate unless the members recognize his right to go to court for redress. The way forward. There are two parts to national sovereignty. There is the sovereignty of territory or territorial integrity and the sovereignty of citizens. The focal point now is the sovereignty of citizens. Section 1, subsection 2 of the Constitution states, the sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia, from whom all organs of government derive their authority, and in whose name and for whose welfare and prosperity the power of government are to be exercised in accordance with this Constitution. The citizens have spoken. Before one talks about territorial integrity, one must talk about the sovereignty of the people, the owners of the country. It is President-elect Barrow who has derived the authority to govern from the consent